Hello all, and welcome to Nature with the Dockery Docket. Today we are focusing on a very important animal, especially this time of year, squirrels. Squirrels are small woodland creatures that love to climb trees, store nuts for the winter, and while they don't hibernate, in the cold months they love to stay warm and dry. Some squirrels are also into insider training, so they can dump a stock right before it crashes, or pick up a stock right before it launches off. These types of squirrels also love burn pits for some reason. I mean, just look at the joy on this squirrel's face. That's all for this week, folks. Join us next time when we will talk about giraffes.
What you are about to experience is out of this world. Politics, history, and of course, a lot of entertainment. It's time to rock it with the Docket.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with our very 90th episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. And if you are excited to be here as well, make sure to go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, so then you never miss one of my videos. So last week was the State of the Union. Now I know most of you probably didn't watch it. I mean, why would you? Why would you want to listen to an almost 80-year-old man mumble incoherently for an hour? For some of you, that might seem like Christmas trying to connect with your grandparents. And this was the problem with the State of the Union. As the three people that were on the TV screen are the ones that are in charge of the entire country. Kamala Harris, who doesn't know what she's doing half the time. Joe Biden, as I already mentioned, is senile and sounds like he just stumbled out of a bar. And Nancy Pelosi, who I assume is now, I am not joking when I say this, but I believe that she's either drunk, high, or there is something wrong with her brain. I mean, seriously, it is scary stuff. Of course, we have the situation where Joe Biden is talking about breathing in toxic smoke, and for some reason, Nancy Pelosi turns into a squirrel. What is she doing in this clip? It is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in politics ever. Now, for the next clip, you have to turn on your listening ears, as it sounds like Nancy Pelosi is saying, "Yay!" like a child after she announces that Joe Biden is there. Listen to this.
I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
I mean, seriously, are we too? It is important to know that it wasn't just Joe Biden that had a rough night. Nancy Pelosi is also a mess. And if there happens to be a situation where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are both killed, then she would be the leader. I have absolutely no confidence in her or anyone on that TV screen. So after all that crap went out of the way, Joe Biden started his speech. And he started by talking about something that was very important. And that was about the situation that is going on in Ukraine. Now, everyone that was in the chamber had Ukrainian flags and were waving them around. It was a good thing and showed the world that the United States was supportive of the people of Ukraine. However, Joe Biden talked about the situation for almost 6 minutes. The problem with talking about this for a long time means that it's taking away from other situations and crises that are taking place in America right now. If you want me to be honest, the situation in Ukraine happened at a very perfect time for Joe Biden, because he was able to pivot away from all of the crises that were going on at home, and instead he was able to say, "Hey, we're all united, and we all love each other, and we want to help America and Ukraine." I don't know what his speech would have sounded like if Russia hadn't invaded Ukraine, but I do think that the speech would have been a whole lot different. Maybe he would have focused more on situations that are actually hurting Americans, but we will get to that a little bit later on. So let me be clear, it was good that Joe Biden talked about the situation in Ukraine. And there were other things that Joe Biden said that was also good, which is very strange to say. But there were moments when in this speech, Joe Biden got blonde hair and his skin turned a little hint of orange. As for these moments, I'm calling them Joe Trump moments, as Joe Biden literally acted like Donald Trump. It was super strange. The first time this happened was when Joe Biden was talking about building in America and how we should hire more Americans to create American products here in our country. Here is what he specifically said about that.
We're going to do it by buying America. Buy American products. Support American jobs. We'll buy America to make sure everything from the deck of an aircraft carrier to the steel on highway guardrails is made in America from beginning to end. All of it. All of it.
Now, in this speech, Joe Biden goes deeper on this, as Joe Biden said that there was a pride in stamping things made in the USA.
Just look around and you'll see an amazing story. The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America.
This was also a major talking point during the campaign events with Donald Trump, as Donald Trump would ask the audience, should it be made in America or made in the USA? And then people would cheer for which one he said. Trump was also known for wanting to bring manufacturing and factory jobs back to America. That was one of the reasons why he wanted to get out of NAFTA and make a whole new agreement with Canada and Mexico. Donald Trump, in all sense and purpose, was the Made in America president. And after Joe Biden mentions all this infrastructure stuff, the chamber exploded and started chanting USA, USA. For a minute, I thought I was stuck in a Trump rally.
Economists call this increasing the productive capacity of our economy. I call it building a better America.
And I also thought that chanting USA was some form of white supremacy or something like that. There's probably an article somewhere out there that says that. And then Joe Biden comes up with a new catchphrase, as he says he wants to start building a better America. Basically, this phrase means that he wants to make America great again. Well, dang, it looks like Trump is all over this presidency. But it just gets weirder, as Joe Biden went on to talk about how the price of insulin was too high and that it needs to be lowered. This is a fact that Donald Trump also jumped on and tried to tackle. As back in 2020, Trump created 2 executive orders to try and stop surging drug prices. With these 2 executive orders, the price of insulin dropped to $35, which was a 66% reduction. And then when Joe Biden came into office, one of his executive orders halted the Trump order until they could review it. Well, it has been a long time since that halting happened, and drug prices are still high, so it might have been scrapped. This affected both insulin and EpiPens, as Trump officials claimed that blocking this rule would increase access to these medications among the 28 million Americans who need these drugs and 6 million people that are uninsured and need these sort of medicines. This led to the price of insulin and also EpiPens to rise in the first week of Joe Biden's administration. It was a big controversy back then, but now he wants to fix it. Now, the cost of drugs, we can all agree on. We all know that it is too high and something has to be done to lower these different prices for drugs that people need to survive with. But now in this speech, there was something bigger, and that is the whole idea of defunding the police. As during the State of the Union, Joe Biden said this.
We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police. Fund them. Fund them. Fund them with resources and training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities.
Wait, hold on 1 minute. This whole operation of defunding the police was the Democrats' idea from the very beginning. There isn't one Republican that agreed that defunding the police was a good idea. I mean, Trump signed an executive order funding the police. And in a statement, he said, there won't be defunding, there won't be dismantling of our police, and there's not going to be any disbanding of our police. The Democrats, on the other hand, want to make it seem like the summer of 2020 never happened, where people all over the country were rioting and demanding that the police be dismantled or defunded. And don't worry, I have the receipts of all these different politicians saying that they wanted to defund the police, so they can't get away with this crap. Here's a video of the current vice president saying that she wants to dismantle the police.
It is wrong-headed thinking to think that the only way you're going to get communities to be safe is to put more police officers on the street. What we have to do, and what we will do, is reimagine public safety.
And of course, we have all the tweets, and every single person that said they wanted to defund the police were Democrats. Ilhan Omar said, the defund the police movement is one of reimagining the current police system to build an entity that does not violate us. Ayanna Pressley said, the defund movement isn't new. Folks are just finally listening. Bernie Sanders said, instead of spending $80 billion a year on jails and incarceration, we need to be investing in more jobs and education. One thing is absolutely clear. Every police department violating people's civil rights must be stripped of federal funding. Period. Rashida Tlaib said, when we say defund the police, what we mean is people are dying and we need to invest in people's livelihoods instead. Do I need to say any more? We all know that this has been a Democratic talking point since 2020. So what changed? There has been a rise in crime in major cities because the police are not getting the funding that they need. There have been stories all over the place of people being pushed in front of subway trains, human trafficking, homeless encampments, rape, murder, theft. All of these different crimes are rising, and they are happening most in Democratic cities. So they have all changed course and said, well, we want to fund the police. We have always wanted to fund the police. Don't let them lie to you. We know what they've said. The radicals in the Democratic Party are killing the moderates in the Democratic Party. And we see this once again, as after the State of the Union, Black Lives Matter attacked Joe Biden for saying we want to fund the police. As DeRay McKesson, who is a BLM activist and writer, went on Twitter to say, fund the police is not the answer. They are already well-funded and not accountable to anyone, and their presence hasn't led to community safety. This is why this moment of the State of the Union was so shocking. As if Trump were doing the State of the Union and said the exact same thing that Joe Biden did, all the Democrats would have sat on their hands and said that he was a racist and wanted black people to die. However, when Biden says it, he gets a standing ovation from the whole entire chamber, even though it has been the Democrats for years that have been pushing this stupid defund the police crap. Okay, moving on from that, if we go back in the past, one of the most controversial things that Trump proposed was building a wall on the southern border. With this wall built, we could help stop the flow of illegal immigrants along with child traffickers and other illegal activities like drugs and heroin from coming over. Now I know what you're thinking. Did Joe Biden call for a wall? Sadly, no. However, he did say this.
We need to secure our border and fix the immigration system. At our border, we've installed new technology like cutting-edge scanners to better detect drug smuggling. We've set up joint patrols with Mexico and Guatemala to catch more human traffickers. We're putting in place dedicated immigration judges in significant larger number so families fleeing persecution and violence can have their cases heard faster, and those who don't legitimately hear can be sent back.
Seriously, folks, this is like listening to a Trump rally. Joe Biden wants to protect the border? Color me shocked. Because I was under the assumption that it was racist to want to protect our borders, and that it was only someone that was evil and terrible and orange that would say something so vile and terrible like that. We all know that this immigration crisis is Joe Biden's fault, because everyone knew that he was going to be relaxed on the border. I mean, seriously, after the election, there were immigrants that were wearing shirts that said, please let us in. And a lot of people voted for Joe Biden because they thought he was going to be nice to immigrants and let everyone come in. Well, here he is now being mean to immigrants, telling them that they can't come here. It also shows that Kamala Harris failed to do anything productive when it came to the border. It also shows that the Democrats are a bunch of liars. For 4 long years, the Democrats have claimed that if you want strong borders, then you are a Nazi that wants brown people to die. If you want a wall, you are no better than a Nazi. It was annoying, and it is annoying to see this now. I'm glad that we have the technology that we need to track different drug smugglers and child traffickers. That is very important. But all of that funding and technology was more than likely given during the Trump administration. And the immigration situation that we are seeing right now will not be fixed if Joe Biden and the Democrats continue to call for ICE to be dismantled. Okay, so now the Joe Trump moments of the State of the Union are over. It's now time to look at some moments that made me very upset. Joe Biden ended COVID. Hooray! We did it! We ended COVID! Woo! Listen, I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that he was going to claim victory over COVID. However, there was a problem, as there was still a mask mandate in Washington, D.C. before the State of the Union happened. Well, that can all be changed by the power of science, of course, as the CDC announced new mask guidelines for the country. As 5 days before the State of the Union, the CDC lifted the mask mandate for 70% of Americans. Washington, D.C. was included in that 70% of the people, so during the State of the Union, they didn't have to wear a mask. How convenient is that? Along with that, there were a multitude of schools that also decided to A, reopen, and B, remove the mask mandates, just in time for the State of the Union. How convenient. Now listen, I wish that the State of the Union address happened 6 months ago so we could take off our masks then. But now we have to sit here and act like this old man cured COVID, even though more people died of COVID under Joe Biden than under Trump. Here's what Joe Biden had to say about COVID. It's a bunch of ridiculousness. He even looks for his mask in this clip, and it's hilarious.
It's time for America to get back to work and fill our great downtowns again with people. People working from home can feel safe and begin to return to their offices. We're doing that here in the federal government. The vast majority of federal workers will once again work in person. Our schools are open. Let's keep it that way. And hospitalizations down by 77%. Most Americans can remove their masks and stay in the classroom and move forward safely.
Once again, for 2 whole years, the government has been telling us that if we don't wear a mask, then we are killing grandma. And if we don't put a mask on our children, then our children will all die, and all the teachers will die, and everyone will die. But now, with the State of the Union coming up, we have to make Joe Biden look like the winner. It is absolutely ridiculous to me. Along with that, Joe Biden also said this.
Let's use this moment to reset. So stop looking at COVID as a partisan dividing line. See it for what it is, a god-awful disease. Let's stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other for who we are, fellow Americans.
Joe Biden wants us to unite because COVID-19 has divided us so much. My response to this is, you first. You apologized to me and all the other Americans that you scared out of their minds because you came out on TV and said all companies with 100 employees or more must be vaccinated or you will be fired. Do you know how many nurses walked out of the job? Do you know how many people lost their jobs? Do you know that there are people that physically can't get the vaccine and had to find another job elsewhere? Do you know how many students had to drop out or threaten to be kicked out because they wouldn't take a stupid shot? Don't act like we forgot, Mr. President. It was you that said during the winter that the unvaccinated were going to have a winter of severe death and destruction. You want us all to come back together after COVID and see each other as Americans. You were the one that divided this nation more and more every single day when it came to COVID, along with your party. Don't act like you are a uniter when you have continued to spread this theory of us versus them, especially with COVID. In the end, with this whole State of the Union address, there's definitely more I could have talked about. There was a lot of mumbling and stumbling from Joe Biden. He said that we are going to support the Iranians instead of the Ukrainians. And he also said something about a field of dreams and a lot of woke stuff and a lot of green energy stuff and electric vehicles and all that stuff. A lot of it was just a lot of gobbledygook. And in my opinion, the State of the Union was very bland. It seemed like Biden was making a campaign speech saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but he never talked about what he did as president for the year that he was in office. I mean, he said he was going to cure cancer, but he never said how we are going to do it. And while he was talking about defeating cancer, there were other things that he could have talked about that were going on in his administration for the past year. As with this war happening in Ukraine right now, Joe Biden was able to skip over one of the biggest things that happened in his first term: the failure of leaving Afghanistan. It wasn't even mentioned once, and the people that lost their lives were never even remembered at the State of the Union. Instead, Joe Biden went on to talk about his own son that died of brain cancer years after he served. All of these things that I talked about have something in common. Joe Biden is doing a 360 because he knows the midterms are coming and he's going to get absolutely destroyed in the polls. So what do? You make the Afghanistan story go away. You claim that you beat COVID. You start sounding more like Donald Trump, so then maybe some Republicans will jump over on your side. Don't let them trick you. We know what this administration has done. So let's make sure to show them how we really feel at the ballot box, and hopefully we can find a nice new home for Nancy Pelosi. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye. And as Joe Biden always says, go get 'em!